So Jurassic Park 3 surprised me. I went into this movie thinking that it would be similar to the second film, and I was, thankfully, sorely mistaken. This movie was a joy to watch from start to finish, and was a fine conclusion to the Jurassic Park trilogy. The first thing I noticed was the tone of this film. The third installment in the franchise feels less heartwarming like the first Jurassic Park, yet it had more heart than the second film. I mentioned in my previous video how the second Jurassic Park felt more dramatic than the first one, but lacked the ability to effectively utilize those themes and make an identity for itself. Well, this third movie learned from the second and did what I wanted the second film to do. From the opening scene, there exists a level of tension that is intriguing and plays on my prior knowledge of how dangerous the dinosaurs are, and also what dinosaurs are here. What I didn't see added to the air of uncertainty and piqued my interest because as of yet, I hadn't been exposed to a dinosaur that could swim. So I was left wondering, how did the boat operators die? The cut from the opening scenes to Alan and Ellie was a nice way to leave my curiosity piqued while introducing me to what was happening in the lives of the main characters. Now, I was a bit sad to see that Alan and Ellie were no longer in a romantic relationship, but given what I think I know about each of their characters, this makes sense. Also, I found it funny how, yet again, Alan is convinced to traverse to the Dinosaur Riddled Island due to him needing funding for his dig site. It's just like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And while it is ironic, it shows that his profession that he loves so dearly seems to be dying right in front of him. Also, the choice to make this traversal to the islands a rescue mission was a good one. The Kirbys tricking Alan and Billy into tagging along, and the mercenaries that accompany them led to me being curious about how this would all work itself out. The premise of why they were all there was not only pretty simple and straightforward, it was believable. It didn't take any mental gymnastics for me to understand why they would be here in this very, very understood dangerous place. And when the reality of their situation is revealed, the drama and tension that created makes their fight to survive and find Eric that much more interesting. The first scene with the sail dinosaur. Now, I don't know what it's actually called, so I'm gonna call it the sail dino I'm gonna call it the sail dino because I don't know what else to call it, so bear with me. Now, the first scene with the sail dino was actually ridiculous in the best way possible. This dinosaur not only clarified that it's at the top of the food chain, but it also has a menacing presence. One thing I've noticed while watching these films is it's so easy to over-rely on the T-Rex and raptors. And while these are really good antagonistic creatures, it can become boring, especially when they're used over and over again. Now, the second film did attempt to use them differently than the first, but I think that the addition of this sail dino as the big threat was perfect, especially with how different it's being used compared to the T-Rex. This dinosaur felt like a complete menace. It wasn't hunting for food, it was protecting its babies, it was simply showing that it was the dominant force on this island, and you shouldn't be in this territory, which, as we learned, the territory is everywhere. You shouldn't be in this territory, which is everywhere. You shouldn't be here. This addition to the dinosaur roster was a great one. It was getting a little stale, seeing the same T-Rexes and raptors and a few brachiosaurs and stegosaurs. It was getting a little stale. So this addition added tension and drama in ways that the other dinos hadn't, at least not since the first movie. Also, the fight with the T-Rex and the sail dino was hype. I didn't think it was gonna win, but the way it just cracked his neck, I said, oh, we're here. Oh, it's live. That's wild. It was wild. It was wild. It was wild. I also really appreciated how the raptors were characterized in this movie. They served as antagonists, but they contrasted well with the sail dino and the pterodactyls. They weren't hunting the humans. They were trying to retrieve their eggs. And the way they communicated, strategized, and executed in order to achieve their mission was brilliant. Was brilliant. They felt like the intelligent and capable pack hunters that we saw in the first movie and we had heard about earlier in this one. When they set the trap using the fake mercenary guy as bait, and then they killed him when they realized that they no longer needed him, without eating him, mind you. They didn't eat him. They didn't need to eat him. They said he's expendable and just kill him and move on. That was great. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I really appreciated how they were used and showcased in this film because the second movie did them dirty, in my opinion. In keeping with discussing the dinos, the pterodactyls were fun. They added variety in the types of dangers the cast had to look out for, but they weren't as consistently present as the sail dino or the raptors, which I think was a good call. I don't have a lot to say about them specifically, but when the cast did run into them, one of the best moments in the movie was had here. But More on that later. Now, like I mentioned earlier, this story is relatively simple and easy to wrap my head around. It wasn't overly complicated and wasn't bloated with too many characters, which means that the characters we did focus on, I liked. They felt understood enough and they felt well explored enough, at least for my standard for this movie. The main cast really only consisted of 5 people, that being Alan, Billy, Mrs. Kirby, Eric, and Mr. Kirby. Initially, I thought that the Kirbys would be annoying the entire movie, especially Mrs. Kirby with her incessant yelling for Eric. And I was worried, I was concerned that I would have the same level of dislike for them like I did for Dr. Sarah Harding and Nick Van Owen in the second Jurassic Park movies. But surprisingly, I didn't. Even though both pairs of individuals put the rest of their respective groups in danger, the Kirbys felt more understandable. They are 2 caring parents who want to save their son and are in way over their heads. They don't come off as knowing what the best thing to do is. And as the movie goes on, their annoyingness drops off. Yes, they're hyper focused on Eric and his safety, but they also become more conscious of the dangers that face them and their group, and they react in kind, which I appreciate. Also, the character arc undergone by Mr. Kirby, going from someone who needed someone else to save him and his family, to being the one to risk his life to save his family, that was nice. It added a bit more to his character that made his daring save at the end of the film all the more enjoyable. Also, seeing the restoration of the relationship between the Kirby parents was cute. It was nice. It was fine. I liked it. The character of Eric was also fine. Can't really go through much character growth or development, but I don't think he really needed to, personally. The only gripe I have with his character is how he was super resourceful. The fact that he survived for 8 weeks on this island is a miracle, but the fact that he was able to survive so well in these conditions was simply unbelievable. I'm not saying he needed to die or struggle to the point of almost dying, but besides needing a shower and probably some therapy, he seemed perfectly fine, which is a bit too convenient. It's a little too convenient there. And I think that given how resourceful he was and how much knowledge he gained from being on the island for those 8 weeks by himself, he could have used that knowledge to better help them escape the island. But I feel like once everyone was reunited, Eric's usefulness noticeably diminished, which felt like a missed opportunity to me. The relationship between Alan and Billy was equally as interesting. Actually, no, it was more interesting than the Kirbys, to me at least. This film did a great job of showing just how much trust Alan had in Billy and why he should have that trust in him. Billy proved to be resourceful and reliable. All of these factors made the reveal that Billy had stolen the raptor eggs all the more surprising, and the negative effect that it had on this relationship with Alan was palpable. I do wish that there was more time to see this relational shift between the two, because it felt like right after the big reveal, next thing we see is like Billy saving Eric from the pterodactyls. And if there had been just a bit more time to sit with the reality that Billy had inadvertently put the group in danger, and I was able to bear witness to how differently Alan treated Billy for a bit longer, when Billy made his choice to save the day, it would have felt more impactful, especially when he seemingly died. Now, Billy's heroic display of saving Eric was one of the best sequences? One of the best things in this film. Witnessing his unhesitancy and acting alongside his willingness to sacrifice himself in order to save others really redeemed his character in my eyes. And the way it all unfolded was dramatic in the best way possible. Often people die to the dinosaurs in less than ideal situations and circumstances, but Billy seemingly went out on his own terms, which allowed the others to escape. Now, I really like the scene and the emotional weight that was behind it. Now, I will say again, though, I do wish there was more time spent between when the betrayal was discovered, and when Billy became heroic and saved the day. Because the moment we've hit harder, really good moment, but I think we could do a little better. The character of Alan Grant was handled interestingly in this film. To me, he came across like he was reckoning with the reality of the profession that he loved. Like, there's seemingly a decrease and interest in his chosen field of expertise, and all the people seem to care about are InGen's creations that nearly killed him in the first movie. I think this movie sees Alan as more reflective on this reality and his contradictory relationship with the dinosaurs. And as the film goes on, I saw him slowly come to terms with the reality of the existence of these creatures and with the people like Billy who will want to explore them and get first-hand knowledge on what he spent his whole life studying. I think that by the end of the movie, Alan was better accepting of the fact that dinosaurs exist, and people are probably more interested, not even probably, they're more interested in exploring them as living creatures opposed to them as fossils. At least that was my takeaway. Alan Grant's character journey in this movie wasn't as obvious as someone like Mr. Kirby, but by the end of the film, I did notice a change in the dinosaur man. Yeah. The main cast for this movie was noticeably better than in the previous one. Now, given that there were significantly less people of importance in this film than the previous one, I think this movie had an easier time of building my understanding of each individual and seeing their growth across its runtime. Across this runtime. Across this runtime. I either like each person or was neutral towards them, and while I didn't like some of their actions, those actions didn't ruin the character for me. Also, the plot of this film was handled really well. We got into the main events relatively quickly, and the pacing kept me engaged and intrigued. Now, I do wish that the movie was a bit longer to allow for more focus on the developing relationships, or to give us more of a look at the island outside of the cast being chased and attacked. And even though I enjoyed the action scenes, I do feel like at times I felt like there was a little too much happening too quickly. Because once the cast got on the island, it felt like there was no time to catch their breath. Even the slower moments where they weren't being chased felt like they were being moved a bit too quickly. This very well might just be a me thing. It could be a me thing, right? But I believe that this movie had an extra 15-ish minutes added to the runtime. This would allow for more focus to be given on certain moments, certain character arcs, certain character relationships, and in doing so, would allow for the overall movie to feel less rushed. With all of that being said, I really enjoyed this movie. I think that it did basically everything that I would have wanted the second movie to have done. Blah, 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 blah. Words. I'm just butchering this whole script. I think that I did basically everything that I would have wanted the second movie to have done. So after watching that movie, this one was a pleasant surprise. Its short runtime left me wanting more, but in the end, I prefer a movie that feels too short opposed to a movie that feels too long, so it is what it is. But all in all, this was a really enjoyable experience for me. But those are my thoughts, and now I'd like to hear yours. Let me know what you think of this final installment in the OG Jurassic Park trilogy. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel because I'd love to have you around. Thank you so much for watching this video, and because you subscribed, I'll be seeing you in the next one. Now, I think I said this in the first video, but I realized that my recounting my memories of Jurassic Park were actually from Jurassic Park 3. And so there were certain scenes that like I was like, oh yeah, I remember this now, or whatever the case is. And having the context of the first two movies makes a huge difference in how I enjoyed this because I didn't dislike it, I don't think, when I saw it when I was younger, but I was confused about certain things. So having context has made this completely different in a good way. This has been fun, seeing how things change. I think in terms of which one I enjoyed the most, I like the tone, like I like the tone of the third one a little bit more, like the most, maybe. But I think just how well the first one was done, like the sense of wonder and awe that I had there, it just can't be replicated. You know, like there were certain moments in the third one where they tried to go for that same heartwarming thing, and it wasn't terrible, but it just didn't hit the same. You know. So I think if I had to pick one, it'd be the first one. But I do enjoy what the second one, not the second one. I do enjoy what the third one is and tried to do. Yeah. It was fun though. Also, let me know down in the comment section what movie or movie franchise or whatever you want me to tackle next. I have an idea of what I want to do now, I guess after this, but I want to hear your thoughts if you have any. So thank you for watching. Bye.